Planeswalkers, and welcome back to another episode of the Hive Mind. My name's John, the Orzhov Dunn. Today, I am joined by a very, very important podcaster. Man, this person, when I started this show, is one of the shows I wanted to reach out to and get on this to talk about it, and it's great. This is kind of a geek out moment for me, and I hope it is for all of you. So planeswalking in from South Central Connecticut, we have Ahren from Turn One Thoughtseize. Sir, thank you for joining me.
What's going on?
Yeah, all right. So South Central, I didn't know there was a South Central Connecticut.
I mean, there's a South Central everywhere.
Right? Maps, you know.
Yeah, how do they work? Miracles.
That is true. All right. So as we start each and every week, we like to find out who our special guest Magic origin story is. So Ahren, how did you get addicted to this thing?
Oh man, so I'm gonna reveal my age a little bit here. The first booster pack that I ever bought was the Dark. I played pretty extensively through like Fallen Empires, Homelands, Revised was kind of like my first heyday, and then I was like, I'll do other stuff. Because I had enough money for like Magic cards and comic books, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing anything really with these cards, and I wanted comic books, so I did, comics and stuff like that more through like high school, college. Like I played early on. I got started in high school, and we played like at drama club, like where all the cool kids were. Basically, we're like, yeah, we're between rehearsals, let's jam.
Right.
So I was a very early fan of like tokens. Green black was always my jam. My signature deck was the Breeding Pit Lord of the Pit combo.
Oh yes, with Ebon Parader or Ebon Paraders and stuff. Dude, I'm with you.
So it was, get Lord of the Pit, because like Mark Ten's art has always been like hands down my favorite. A close second, like Anson Maddox tied with Quentin Hoover, R.I.P.
Yeah, seriously.
I was so like I was shook when somebody told me he had passed away, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" Because I was thinking of it, and I was like, man, I haven't seen any of his art in years and years and years. I wonder what happened. Somebody was like, he's dead, and I was like, get out of here.
Right.
Because I didn't keep a lot of cards, because I've sold my collection a bunch of times over the years. I didn't keep a ton of stuff, but the stuff that I kept was the Preacher that I pulled out of like that very first pack. Nice. Like that art is hands down my favorite piece that's ever been done. Like I still have Frankenstein's Monster, that old Anson Maddox piece. Lesser Werewolf was another Quentin Hoover one, like from that era.
Yeah.
So I was super down with all that stuff, and I recently Quentin Hoover's son has actually started going through, and he's going to be making like products with his father's art on them, and he's like selling some originals and stuff like that. So I got my feelers out there, because if the original art for Preacher ever comes up, I will definitely buy it.
Oh man, that is it's a hectic art, if that's a word to describe it. Kind of levels of competitive play. I know that you and Chris would talk about just kind of grinding a little bit. It seems like you've been grinding a little bit more, right?
One of my goals originally when we started the podcast was to kind of use it as a way for me to become a better player, because I am known even now, hopefully to a lesser degree, for making suboptimal deck choices in favor of like either stuff that I want to play that I'm just like, this is going to work no matter what. I don't care how many times I lose. I'm going to get somebody. It's going to be great. Or just, going too hard on flavor. I'll be like, well, I could use this guy who's very good and costs $70. or I could use this guy that fits in a little bit better and costs a penny.
Yeah, and I completely share the love of. You said you were a black-green mage, but I know that you do love your black-white, discard spells, your token spells, all that, and your smallpox. I am right there with you, brother. I am 8-rack and black-white tokens all the way, and that's really what kind of drew me into the podcast at first.
Anybody that enjoys casting smallpox those are my people. Those are the people that I love. The dismay when it comes down. They're like, oh god,
yeah,
is this happening?
They're like, it does.
Oh, and you've got flagstones out. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's like I'm already like sacrificing my land and stuff. They're like, what are you doing? Hold on, what is this? Why would you run this card? Because it's awesome.
Because like Urborg, Thoughtseize, Flagstone, Smallpox is the absolute best. That's the most fun you could have playing Magic. I guarantee that.
I agree 150%, sir. So, so are you playing mostly like MTGO, or are you going out and playing the actual cardboard?
So right now I play mostly online, just because I have like a regular day job and a 6-year-old and like life kind of stuff. So I steal games when I can. It's a lot easier for me to kind of rapidly test out new decks where I can just sort of go on, grab 2 or 3 decks from. We have a sponsorship from our friends at Card Hoarder. This interview brought to you by Card Hoarder.
There you go.
So definitely check them out, because if it was not for them, I definitely would not be able to do most of what I do on there. So I can go on, grab a couple decks, run them through, and be like, this thing is terrible. Nobody ever should see this. Or like the Judd Madness deck that I was just working on, like actually did get to a decent point. Like it's F&M competitive.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bring it to a GP. So normally now I get to just basically play in bigger events where I plan in advance, where I have to get a babysitter basically.
Sure. In
order to play paper.
So what really brought you into kind of your love of the modern format?
Okay, so here's the story. So the last time that I got that I came back was the Journey into Nyx pre-release was the first event that I played, and I was like, I basically know how Magic cards work. So I went, I got like this terrible pool, just trash, and I was like, all right, whatever. So I played a couple games, and I was like, all right. So in that standard format, I was doing the onboarding the ideal onboarding process, right? Is like I didn't have any cards. I went to a pre-release. I had a small pool of cards, and then I was drafting every week and using those cards to like put together and build up decks, blah blah blah. So RTR was still legal at the time, so it was that like RTR Theros standard. And I was like, man, I really like a lot of that stuff, but it's all rotating in like a minute.
Right.
So I didn't want to buy into any of that stuff. And the decks, like the really good decks, were not decks that I was interested in. Like I really wanted to play like a black-white heroic, which was not a thing.
I tried it. It was not a thing.
It's not great. It did not have all the good stuff that blue-white heroic eventually had. So, but I do, like I have a deep affection for enchantments. So the set was really like a slam dunk for me. And so I like played a little bit, and I was like, whatever. Like it didn't really. I was never able to sort of be competitive at that time. And then like the next set came out, and I was like, what am I going to do with all these cards? And I posed that exact question to like the guy at my store, and I was like, what do I do with all this stuff? He's like, just like you try and dump it early enough before the rotation that like you might still get a little bit of value out of it, and then you just do nothing. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, that's a bad value proposition. I'm not down with that.
Right.
So he goes, well, the other thing that you can do is, there's these other formats. You can play Modern, you can play Legacy. Basically, I was like, I'm not going to play at a competitive enough level where a deep investment into Standard is going to pay off for me, right? Like, I'm not going to go out and be able to, like, grind SCG events and, be top 8, like, making my money back.
Sure.
So the guy at the store was like, well, what do you like to play? And I was like, well, back in the day, I used to play black-green. And he was like, well, I've got some bad news for you. He's like, that deck in Modern is called the Rock, and it costs $1 billion. Right. Because at the time, Tarmogoyf was like $250 a piece, $260 maybe, and then Liliana the Veil was like, I think, over $100. Now she was still comparatively inexpensive.
Probably like $60
was pretty recent.
Yeah.
So like it was still out there. So basically he was like, yeah, you happen to pick a deck that contains like all of the most expensive cards. And I was like, rough. But I had pulled some Thoughtseizes in a draft, and I was like, all right, this card's great, because one of my favorite cards from back in the day was Mindstab Thrall. Like, that's how old my discard roots run deep. Mindstab Thrall was like a favorite.
I still see the Mark Teeden little guy, the little put together dude, the bald dude with the scalpel and all the arms. Oh yeah, I remember Mindstab Thrall.
Yeah, I reached out to him a little while ago. I was like, hey man, I know this is like the world's longest long shot. I was like, do you have any idea where that art is? And he's like, I have no idea. He's like, I sold it 15 years ago, and I don't know who has it. I don't know where it is. And I was like, all right, well.
That would have been sick. It might make for a pretty cool tattoo. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, it would. I don't know. I'm not a tattoo guy. So
It'd make you look hard if you go to prison. There's always that.
Yeah. If I go to prison, that is going to be the absolute least of my worries.
I don't know. They're going to see that freaky little bald dude with arms and a scalpel be like, okay, this guy is for real. South Central Connecticut.
Yeah. That's one of the common misconceptions about Connecticut is that it's like who's the boss? And in fact, there are parts of Connecticut that are like that, but we also have like usually 2 cities in like the top 10 most dangerous in the U.S.
Oh wow!
So
yikes, living hard.
Yeah,
man. Living hard.
That's right. Good baby.
All right, so let's kind of just jump right into kind of the genesis of what became and what is Turn One Thoughtseize as a podcast. Probably one of the most popular podcasts, Magic related, out there that you could find. Great content. It's probably my favorite podcast out there. So what happened? Or how did this come about?
Well, first of all, thank you. So a glowing review.
Thank you.
So I have always done like some kind of broadcast stuff, right? Like theater background, and I did radio in college for a long time. I did a lot of on air. I was a music director. And then when I got out of college, I worked in TV. I was like cameraman, editor, did all this stuff. And I was like, man, I tried to get a podcast, a number of podcasts actually, like off the ground with a bunch of different people, and either like the subject matter was kind of like meh, or scheduling, like people weren't committed to it.
Yeah. Right.
Like if I'm gonna do something like this, I'm like, I'm in it to win it, and I'll do with or without you. So anyway, so that's what I did, and then I actually I met Chris, who was also coming back into Magic, like basically at the same time. He played more like in between than I did. Like I missed, all like Urza Block. I missed all the prophecy, nemesis, blah, 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 like all that stuff. I just totally.
You didn't miss much.
Totally missed all that stuff. Well, I missed a lot of ATOGs. That's actually my takeaway.
That's true. But I mean, there were some real stinkers in there too.
Yes, strong agree. So we just kind of like saw each other's stars and hanging out, and I was like, hey man, at the time there were 0 modern podcasts that were actually still making episodes. So I was like, I just bought the modern event deck. I started playing it. Format's dope. Like I'm in it, right? And I want to do something. And I was like, you're not a jerk. So we should do that. I was like, you're pretty cool. I actually did say that sentence to him once. I was like, well, you're not a jerk, and you seem pretty cool.
Number 1 job qualification, right?
Yeah, well, one hopes.
Yeah.
That was one of the like interview segments of the people that I've been interviewing for co-hosts is like, are you a white supremacist? Are you a men's rights activist? Are you a and even I just go down the list. I'm like, blah, 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 and like, if you answered yes to any of these questions, your services are no longer required.
Right. Well, it's good. You set up the proper landmines, because you do have to, hang out with these people, whether, even if it's not in person, but even something like this or on a podcast, you still have to like that person.
Right. Yeah. So, we just kind of like did it. We're sort of fortunate to be, sort of dovetailing skills, right? Like he is an electrical engineer and also does had done audio engineering and stuff like that on the side. And I was sort of more used to doing like the hosting kind of stuff. So the way we had originally set it up was I was going to do like 70% of the face work.
Sure.
I was going to be running Twitter, people trying to line up their back-end stuff, make your website, do the editing, this, that, the other thing. So that worked really well because I very rarely had to edit the podcast, which is fantastic. Because if you've never done that before, it's a chore.
Oh, I mean, video editing sucks by itself.
You know my pain.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Yeah.
Basically, we had a confluence of overlapping desirable skills and the will to do something we then did. We're really happy with what we were able to build with an unfortunately small amount of promotion.
Sure.
We didn't spend a lot of time promoting the show in terms of awareness, and we still have all of these listeners all over the world, which is still fascinating to me. I'm like, how did you find us? I'm glad you're here, but
right,
where did you even find us?
I mean, did you
The answer, by the way, most often is MTG Cast and Reddit. So
yeah, and
hats off to those two venues.
I've never even signed on to Reddit. I guess that's a big boom right there. But definitely, I found you guys through MTG Cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lion's share of our downloads come through there. Believe it or not.
And another big place where you got kind of a larger platform is when you had kind of your one-off of everyone's favorite, MTG community creator, Tolarian Academy. So.
Oh yeah, yep. The thing we did with Brian that was a good bump. And then we actually did recently. We were on the Mothership, which was great. We were in the Star City little blur thing that I can't remember the name of right now. Split Second, that's the one.
Yeah.
And it's ironic, it's one of my favorite mechanics. So we've started to kind of hit that point of larger awareness in, sort of magic world, proper.
Yeah.
And then Chris was like, I want to go do other stuff.
I know. Timing, right?
I was like, yo, we're on the mothership. And he's like, cool, I got to talk to you about something.
You're like, what? Yeah, that is interesting timing. But, I listened to the episode where he kind of explains that he's got some other projects and stuff. And it's, like you said, it's not nefarious or anything. It's just...
No, it's totally amicable. I mean, we still talk just as much as we did before. We still talk about the same things, just we don't sit down every other week for 3 hours to talk about them for other people.
Right.
So that's not, it wasn't like, friendship,
So, yeah, and you have been putting out kind of a casting call, so to speak. So how is that going? And if you want to tell anyone, like, kind of who has been in the casting call, or if you kind of narrowed it down, whatever you want to share.
So we were expecting to get, like, I don't know, 10 maybe.
Oh, come on.
And then, because you've got to want to do it, first of all.
Yeah.
It's a huge time commitment. It's, there's an element of it that's public facing, which is intimidating for a lot of people who aren't used to it. You have to kind of be out there, and it impacts, like, how you can behave in public, which is something that, like, not everybody is ready to do.
Sure.
Like, there's plenty of things, right? Like, if I'm at an event and I sit down and, like, I don't have any buys, like I did at Indianapolis, like, if I sit down round one, I don't have any buys, and the guy just pulls out blue-black mill. Like, I would love, me as a human, I would love to tilt off on that guy, but I can't.
Right.
Because actually, it turned out that not only was he familiar with the show, but two other people that were, like, sitting next to us were like, oh, hey, I heard of that show. So, like, I'm glad I didn't just blast the guy. Nice. Not that I would really do that, but you know what I mean, right? Like, it's part of your thought process where it wouldn't normally be, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting there to be as many people, and we ended up, I think the final count was like in the 60s. We got a ton. A lot of people were, we'll say this, everybody was very earnest. And, we didn't get anywhere. I was like, this is just some clown who's, like, doing this to waste my time.
Yeah.
Which was a tribute to our audience, and the people that we interact with on a regular basis are amazing. The people we talk to on Twitter, the people that, talk to us through Facebook and email and all that sort of stuff. We have none that I wouldn't, probably be very happy to call a friend in real life. They really have been great to us over the years. That said, not all of them were able to follow the very simple instructions.
Right.
So that was a little bit of a challenge in the beginning. I was like, come on, guys and gals, and there were no. We didn't have any, like, just straight up chuckleheads, right? Like, there was nobody that we were like, this person is doing this just to waste our time. Right. Like, everyone was very earnest, and our listeners are great in that way, right?
Yeah.
That we were able to just put it out there and not have it turn into, like, a nonsense festival. So we I narrowed it down to top 4, which was Chris, Jen, Zach, and TJ. Mm-hmm. I took the sort of feedback from that we got both online and offline from, there's like, it's funny, there's not a lot of overlap between the people that we talk to on Facebook and the people that we talk to on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And they're just, like, completely separate groups, which is very strange.
Yeah, it is.
Excuse me. So so I kind of put all that together, and then I put out all those episodes. And yesterday I recorded a full-length episode with one of the top two, and then hopefully later this week I will be able to record another full episode with the other person who's in the top two, and then I will put them both out and then figure it out, and then 2 weeks from now we should be regular schedule, normal stuff, bing bang boom.
Excellent. So that speaks testaments, like you said. It's not, there was no time wasting, no tomfoolery, that everyone kind of took it seriously. And I'm sure, like Chris from I believe Girlfriend Bracket,
yep.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's a big name, man.
Yeah, they are great.
And it's another Chris, so that would be easy.
And that was one thing, man. I sat there for a minute and I was like, I wouldn't have to change anything.
Yeah.
I can make everything the same and just pretend like it was
right. Yeah.
Right, like Becky from Roseanne, right? Like one day it was this person, next day it's that person. Right. Nobody said a word.
It would be like Becky from Roseanne. All right, so let's see. So yeah, what are your thoughts on you started Turn One Thoughtseize what 2 or no? It's been like 5 years now, right? 4 years?
No, it's 2 years. 2 years and change.
Wow, it seems like it's been forever. But nowadays, it's just like you go on and there's just like a ton of podcasts, a ton of new YouTube channels and everything. Like Magic content right now has just been like, it's like springtime with bunnies. So what are your thoughts on that and kind of all the noise and what do you think the future is? My suspicion is that more people have seen the sunny side of like the success stories, right? And they're like, they'll see Tolerian Community College, he's got his Patreon up there and he's doing great, blah blah blah, he's doing all this crazy stuff, and they see like Manosaurus, they see Magic the Amateur and like all those people, right, who are doing all of this objectively cool stuff, and making money and making livings, right? And they're like, I could do that. And what they don't see is like the years and years of blood, sweat, and tears. Like none of this stuff just sort of happens. But I think that it's like anything, right? It's if you are dedicated and you are putting out good content, then eventually you do the work first, and then the recognition comes. And you really have to be. I guess my advice to any of those people would be concentrate on making things that you would enjoy watching, right? Like other than being sort of like a like mini narcissist, right? Like I listen to our show, and I would listen to our show if somebody else was making it and it's the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
So, especially when I didn't have to edit, I listened to it more when I didn't have to edit it. So now, like, if I've already listened to it like 4 times, I don't need to listen to it again. But I do often listen to it.
I usually give it the one once it's completed, the one-time listen, just to hear the final product. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like I have to really, really listen to every single little microsecond. So I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to hear my voice anymore.
Yeah. So content first, recognition at an indeterminate point in the future, right? Like it might not be,
ever.
It could be right, and absolutely, like it could be never, and that's like conversations that I've had with people at sort of all levels of success, right? Like I've not only experienced that, but also the people that I used to interact with in the toy industry who are like 25, 30-year veterans. Like my mentor when I got into the toy industry, I mean, she got out of college, she worked at the Franklin Mint, she's done like like everything you can possibly imagine. She sculpted the original like the little like Flintstones vitamins.
Oh wow!
You know, like that kind of thing, right? And it's just across all kinds of products.
Crazy.
And you know, so like from that to, you know, I had that conversation with Margot Kidder a number of times, right? Like, I was like, you know, she interviewed me, weirdly, this was years and years ago, at like a San Diego Comic-Con, because I was with like a bunch of people who were doing cosplay when it was still fairly new, and we sort of hit it off, and you know, I see her at conventions occasionally, and I try and keep in touch. But you know, she was, one of the things that she asked was, she was like, you know, who here is doing this like because they want to be famous? And I was like, me, because everybody else like sort of demurred, and they were like, oh yeah, I'm doing it for the love, I'm doing it for this, I'm doing it for that, right. And I was like, right? You know, and she's like, I'm glad that you were honest. And I said, what I mean by that is I don't want to be famous.
Right.
I would like to be known by other people as someone that does good work in this particular thing. And you know, I feel like that's been my goal, and that's going to be my goal going forward. You know, I want to be known as somebody who puts out good work, you know, and that over time, once you build up enough of a body of it, gets people's attention. And like I said, I mean, we've still never gotten a preview card. It took us, you know, 2 years to get onto the mothership for the first time. And there were certainly, you know, tons of people that started after us, that, you know, got there first. Yeah. And, you know, like, you can't let that kind of stuff psych you out. You just keep going, right? Keep your head down. Worry about what you're doing. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. And, you know, it'll come or it won't, and you just have to create a body of work that you're proud of, and that's the end goal. Yeah,
it's if you, more often than not, if you're creating great content, and you don't have to create expensive content, you don't have to look like a network television show, but if you're creating stuff that comes off genuine, and it's, like you said, stuff that you would want to hear, so you know that's a big starting point. Some amount of something will come, you know, whether it be small victories or, you know, big victories, whatever. But it just seems like right now it seems to be all these little ones sprouting up, just like, I could open up a pack and this is how I do it differently, you know.
Yeah, but and I think what you'll see is, you know, the people that don't experience the success that they envisioned fast enough will just fall away. Yeah. And, you know, then the people that are really committed to it will keep going. And then, right, there's levels to that too, where you go, okay, you know, it's the 2-year mark. I've been grinding away, doing my thing. I haven't, you know, reached whatever level of recognition I was hoping for yet. So I'm going to quit and do something else. And that's totally legit. Like, right. Or, you know, there's people certainly who are like, I'm sure at the 5-year mark, who are like, man, I've been doing this every week. You know, I put out a video of me opening a booster pack and I only have, you know, 200 subscribers or whatever. But, you know, that person, as long as they're producing something of value, you know, it might take 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. Sure. Eventually somebody's going to be like, I really like the way you open booster packs. You know?
You open it slow and you open it to the right, and I really like that.
I don't know if exclusively if like pack openings. Right. I feel like the depths of that have probably been plumbed. I don't know if there's a ton of room for innovation in the pack opening arena. But hey, I could be wrong. I mean,
Well, I wasn't even aware, and maybe you were, but I'm gonna name drop real quick. I was talking to Ruben today, like we're on that level. But I was talking to Ruben Bressler today. He was telling me about this this Muppet, I guess this Muppet streamer. I had no idea that this was a thing. Did you know about this?
Okay. There was something about a Muppet at the Mox Gauntlet thing that happened over the weekend.
Okay.
That is my familiarity with Muppets of that nature.
Apparently, this Muppet has a straight-up channel, and he streams, and he talks about Magic content, and it's like a normal channel, but he's a Muppet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like in the context of the channel? Does he know he's a Muppet? Does he think he's a person?
I'm not sure. I'm going to have to delve deeper.
Is everybody in the world a Muppet?
Right? Is it like Muppet cards, maybe? Like, are they prefabricated?
I'm looking for internal consistency within the context of the Muppet.
Exactly. If you're going to do it, you have to go all in, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Unless it's like a Mr. Rogers setting, then there's like humans involved,
I don't know. Or even like, I guess I would be satisfied with either a puppet that knows it's a puppet, or like a Fraggle Rock kind of thing.
Okay.
Where there's like the human world and then the Fraggle world.
Sure.
Muppet streamer, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Get on it.
Get on it, dude. Get that YouTube stuff going. But all right, sir. This is the part of the episode where we have lately been playing Gauntlet of Power, but we're bringing back an oldie, and that is Face the D20. So this is the the original game for the Hive Mind, and we're just gonna bring it back. Why not? We're gonna dust it off, and my buddy Ahren, you have to face the D20. You ready for this?
Lay it on me.
All right. So if any new viewers that haven't seen this yet, we roll the spin down, and we get to see, and whatever number correlates a non-magic question on the list. So here we go. So we have a number 12. What's the most expensive toy that you own?
The most expensive toy that I own. There was an 18-inch Rotocast vinyl Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toy from like the late 80s, early 90s, and I actually own the original of that. It's probably the most expensive thing. And I very briefly had in my possession two of the originals for the original Milo ponies.
Oh wow!
The toys. I had two Wax Masters that would have been used to create the molds that the toys were then pulled out of. But I sold those relatively quickly because I was like, not that I dislike My Little Pony, but somebody was, there was like a hardcore My Little Pony collector out there where as soon as I like put the feelers out, it was like,
wow, super broke.
Take my money. And I was like, you're good. I was like, you're going to enjoy it a lot more than I will.
Nice.
Because it's just going to sit on a shelf in my house.
Yeah. How'd you acquire something like that?
So I worked freelance in the toy industry for about 10 years. Okay. And there was a period of time where I was going to start doing Rotocast vinyl kind of stuff. And people knew that that's what I wanted to do. So one day I get a phone call from my mentor, actually, and she was like, hey, this guy that I know who lives down in New York has a legit factory, like a vinyl factory, and he's retiring. He's like in his 70s, and he wanted to, he's selling off some of his stuff. And I was like, sweet. So I went down there, bought all the gear and stuff that I needed, and it sort of got put on the back burner. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I got a ton of stuff from him, and some of which he very graciously gifted to me, some of which I bought. But a lot of those originals were part of that.
Wow. All right. So next roll on the die, we have 9. So place you need to visit before you die.
Neat. Set.
North, Central?
See, like I take questions. I take questions like this seriously. I gotta think about it.
No, I appreciate that.
No, I guess the question is like, where would I go if I could go anywhere?
Anywhere, yeah. You have the Willy Wonka elevator, so to speak.
Right. Where would I go? I don't know. I don't do a lot of like touristy stuff. Doesn't really like do it for me.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not like Grand Canyon. Leave. I'm like right next to the thing, and I could care less.
Yeah. Well, I lived in Arizona briefly, and so
yeah.
See. Actually, I would like to go to New Zealand. I had an invitation from Richard Taylor from Weta to go visit their place a long time ago, and just never took him up on it. So I would like to make it down to New Zealand at some point.
That'd be pretty sweet. Absolutely, big Lord of the Rings.
Sir Richard Taylor. Sorry.
Sir, yeah. Come on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So let's take another hit. Number 12. Oh, we already did number 12. Number 11. All right. Favorite book series.
Oh, easy mode. Dune, hands down. Dune all day.
Nice.
I'm not a religious person, but I have said before, and it's absolutely true that series of books is the closest thing that I have to a personal scripture. I mean, it really is an extremely important series to me.
Oh man, yeah. If you're a fan of the genre at all, it's a must, right? Like, it's amazing. All right, you got time for 2 more of these?
Yeah, I'd go all night.
Number 7. Anyone you could work with. If you again, a magic wand. It could be a one of. It could be a forever thing. Whatever. Dealer's choice. Someone that you'd be really interested to work with. Again, it doesn't have to be magic related either.
It would probably be, I guess it would have to be categories, right? So like, sure. Sculpture, if I could go anywhere in time, right? Like I would probably try and spend time in Rodin's studio. He had this sort of way of working on a piece, and then his idea of when something was finished was if you looked at it, it would look as though the person had just stepped away from it to do something else and then never touched again. Wow. And that conceptually is very fascinating to me. Yeah. Also, he, as I was when I was a freelancer, was a freaking nap taker. He had like a couch in his studio.
Nice.
I had a cot in my studio when I was working, and then probably like a general art, like painting. Egon Schiele is probably one of my favorite painters.
Okay.
He was a contemporary of Klimt, who's kind of like in that circle. He had a questionable personal life, but his style is very interesting.
Nice.
So people should look him up. He was an interesting dude with a very interesting sort of style.
Excellent, man. That sounds awesome. Those are definitely a lot off of the beaten path, which is nice. It's kind of refreshing. So, last hit of the dice. If you could star in any movie reboot, what would it be? This kind of ties into the book, probably, right?
Yikes. My favorite movie of all time is Amadeus. I would say is probably my number one.
Nice.
If I'm being completely honest, something that I think would actually be fun to work on. Not that it wouldn't be fun to work on, but like that kind of performance is like
draining,
and unbelievably, right? Unbelievably taxing, and all that sort of stuff. But if I guess, I mean, I don't know if they've stopped making Hell Comes to Frogtown movies because Roddy Piper passed away.
Right.
But first of all, if you've never seen Hell Comes to Frogtown, go watch that movie because it's amazing.
I have to look it up. I've never seen it. I've never seen it.
And so then after you finish watching the first one, ask yourself, why would they ever make more than one of these?
It's one of those.
And you will find out to your dismay that they made at least 2 other ones.
Oh man.
So I'm really into like kind of like really bad movies. Basically, like I have a collection of like, you know, old exploitation movies, old like you know, grindhouse kind of stuff.
Awesome.
And so I love all those kind of flicks. And yeah, like Reanimator, I guess. I would say that. Like any movie that Jeffrey Combs has ever been, like I would be down with this. Somebody called me up and they were like, "Yo, we're making a new Reanimator movie." I'd be like, "I'm in." Sign me up.
Are you a big Trauma fan or like a Bruce Campbell fan?
I am a Bruce Campbell fan. I'm conceptually a Trauma fan, but I very rarely make it through actually watching entire one of their movies.
Sure.
Because it's just, they don't hold my interest. But like, I'm glad that they exist. I'm glad that they're doing what they're doing. It's just not, like, it's not my bag in that way.
Sure.
I think when people were watching that, I was watching like Dario Argento kind of movies.
Okay.
That was my sort of thing. And then I did, for a brief period of time, I was on like a really big like gore movie fest. So like there's a movie called Tokyo Gore Police that is pretty amazing. And there was a whole subseries of movies from Japan in the 70s that were like specifically were about like Japanese girl gangs, nice. Pinky violence movies. Yeah. It was just like interesting cultural artifacts, and you know that have something to say about the time and place that they were produced in, right? Like they're flicks that like you can watch and you enjoy them. Just sort of for what they are, because a lot of them are absurd.
Right.
But then you look at it in sort of larger context of what's happening at the time, the country that they were produced, and you know, there's interesting little bits to sort of dissect from what's in there. So that sort of overlooked cultural production is very interesting. It speaks to the sociologist in me.
Nice. And yeah, I would love to see. I think actually they've been talking about a Reanimator reboot too, but we'll see. Probably won't be good.
Yeah. I mean, was the first one really that good?
Yeah. Right.
Like once again, I own like the whatever 3 or 4 disc collector's edition that came in like the glow in the dark case or whatever.
Sure.
And I'm in it. I love it. I don't know if it's objectively like,
but it's bad in the best way, you know. Like the new remakes tend to be just bad in a bad way.
Yes, I would agree with that statement. Well, I think it's because most of them lack that earnestness, I think, of the originals, where, like, you know, if you take David Cronenberg and you're like, you've got $800 to make this movie,
right.
He's going to spend a lot more time and effort trying to make a good movie for $800, and whether he succeeds or fails, there's a level of dedication involved that's not there necessarily when you can just throw money at the problem.
Yeah.
You're like, the script is terrible. All right, go hire somebody to fix it. Okay, here's
or blow something up.
$50,000.
Yeah.
Or blow something up.
Blow something up. It's just like, but it seems like those kind of things, even those low budgets are lazy, because if it's under a certain amount now, they just do found footage film. So
yeah, nobody will ever make a better found footage film than Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh man,
so
right.
They actually, there was when that movie came out. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so when that movie came out, they actually the filmmaker had to actually have a press event with all of the actors to prove that they were still alive, because they were going to, like, bring him up on murder charges.
Sure. Oh yeah, and it was amazing, and it was like nothing to make. It was like $0 to make. Yeah,
it was culturally problematic in a number of ways. Also, I think there was like a controversy because they forced as much as you can force a snake to kill a monkey.
Right.
They somehow orchestrated that, and that
was just having dinner, like.
It's not. Yeah. Well, it's not the kind of rates you couldn't do that today.
Yeah. And
that's true of a lot of flicks. I mean, the original, like, Nightmare on Elm Street, you could never make that movie today.
No.
Like, that movie was PG back then.
Yeah, the whole rating system, I always like to do research on, because that is hilarious, because so many there were some G-rated movies. I think, wasn't Poltergeist G at the time? Or they got it to PG because they added F words. But originally I think it was a G rating, and that's how weird and skewed, you know, before PG-13 came aboard. And now it's like the whole rating system is killing cinema, in my opinion, but whatever. That's a whole other conversation, whole other kind of podcast, right?
Yeah. I could talk about that for another 2 hours.
Oh, easily. All right, sir. So, would you like to spoil any upcoming projects or events that you are a part of?
Well, I'm doing this show, so people will see that when it comes out. Let's see. Streaming. I've been streaming Saturday mornings, kind of like it's just turned out to be a pretty good time, because not only is it generally fairly quiet in my house, there are not a lot of other people really vying for the 8:30 a.m. Saturday time slot, so it's fairly wide open.
Nice.
And it's also like afternoon in Sweden. So I've gotten to know a fellow streamer that streams under the name Pip Roberts, who is a dude from Sweden, and we, like I said, got to know each other, and he'll come on the stream, and I'll be like, all right, man, let's play whatever. And we'll go through leagues and stuff like that. He's super cool. He's known for like blue black control is his thing, like blue black control in every format. Like he used to do his stream was basically for a long time when I first started watching, he was just playing Tezzerator in everything, and I was like, that's cool. That's a dude I want to know.
Right?
Who's like Legacy Tezzerator. Amazing. So yeah, I try to have guests on the stream as often as I can. I was streaming on Monday nights, but that's become like kind of a very crowded time slot.
Yeah.
So rather than trying to like compete with, you know, umpteen other people, I probably will try and find another day during the week that doesn't have as much stuff. Like, we need a TV guide really. I think for like Magic streamers, just sort of a little thing where we can be like, oh, this person's going to be streaming here, this person's going to be streaming here, this person's going to be streaming here. And it will also let people try not to like jump on other people's like time slots.
Right.
So we need a program manager, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So someone please make that. Some stat guy that's a lot smarter than I am. You know, we need.
Same. So streaming twitch.tv/Turn One Thoughtseize, T, the number one Thoughtseize. The next episode should hopefully be out Friday. The highlight, as far as I'm concerned, is I took it upon myself and the full episode co-host to make a modern band watch list, because it is one of those things that people are asking for constantly. There's not an official one, so I made it.
Nice.
And you know, so that's something that I think actually has like a fair amount of utility to people, where I can be like, okay, here's 8 cards that if you're like, all right, I'm going all in, I'm gonna foil out this, you know, whatever deck.
Right.
I would be like, do we want to wait 6 months?
Pump the brakes on that, because
a little bit.
Your dot something is just not good, or it's just too good at this point.
Well, it's, you know, some things, right? Things get banned for different reasons, right? It's like metagame share, it's timekeeping, right? Like that's ultimately why Top got banned. That's why Second Sunrise got banned. And hopefully someday with Clan Ironworks gets banned.
Oh, shots fired.
That is, well, it's not on the list. I feel like my feelings about the eggs deck is pretty well documented. I don't think anybody out there is like, what are you talking about? This guy eats eggs? That is insane.
You're right.
So yeah, I mean, and there's stuff that's just sort of been on the naughty list for a long time, but there's always something more pressing when it comes up, right? It's like would have been a real great time to ban like Mox Opal, you know, the last time, but kind of like worried about Standard.
Yeah.
Legit, you know, I get it.
Absolutely.
But someday Mox Opal will be banned, someday Simian Spirit Guide will be banned, and that will be a great day.
I think Simian Spirit Guide even more so needs like now. It's like been overdue by quite a few years.
Yeah. The problem is like, I think the thing that keeps them from just straight up banning it is it's such a key part of ad nauseum, and having that like pure combo deck in the format is something that they want to preserve, which I get. There has to be another way.
Yeah.
Right? There's got to be some other thing that's not like, oh, also turn to Blood Moon.
Right.
Or like it, or eventually, I mean, there was a deck, one of the like collected company counters decks, like the Devoted Druid Vizier Remedies decks, that was in the like top 8 of the last SCG event, was running 4 Simian Spirit Guides.
Jeez.
Right? Because like, if you're going to go off on turn 3, you might as well be able to go off on turn 2. Because why not? Like,
yeah. Let's just reprint Dark Ritual at this point. You know, just like you get a mana, you get mana, you get mana. It's like
Dark Ritual. I don't know. I mean, it would see play. Like casting Dark Ritual in Legacy is like one of my very favorite things, because it is so like evocative of it's right. Like that was a thing when I started playing.
Dark Ritual into Bubbling Muck, right? Like corrupt you for 1,000.
Yeah. Mind twist you for 2.
Yeah.
Value. But being able, you know, now I'm like, oh, Swamp Dark Ritual Liliana the Veil turn 1, like
win.
That's where we're living.
Yeah.
It's a real good way to start off a game against like Delver in Legacy. Very difficult. It's a force check for sure. Like, oh, did you keep Force Blue card in your opener? No? Alright, well,
Well,
this is the world we live in now.
Now this is happening.
Yeah, this is your home now.
Excellent, sir. So, where can everyone find you on all these social medias, and just where can we find you on the for Turn One Thoughtseize?
All right, so Twitter.com/T1Thoughtseize, because Turn One Thoughtseize all spelled out doesn't fit. Twitch.tv/T1Thoughtseize, Facebook.com/Turn One Thoughtseize all spelled out. We're on MTG Cast, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play Podcasts, like anything that gets a podcast, we are probably on it. I think the only major thing that we're not on is SoundCloud. I don't know if we ever set that up, but it's on everything. I think we're even on like Last FM. I mean,
wow,
right? Like
that's a deep cut.
all the stuff. Yeah.
That's a deep cut.
So yeah, all those places. Twitter is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me because it's always on. And then if you want to send an email, the email is thoughtseizu@gmail.com. That's also the PayPal address for people who want to donate. Throw it out there. You know.
Why not?
You know, who knows?
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's basically it. You know, hang on stream. I'm working on getting the Twitch affiliate thing set up. So apparently, people can like throw pennies at me while I'm streaming.
Oh, nice.
Because I'm not super clear on the cheer system.
Okay.
But I think a cheer is a penny.
Oh. I'm so not even on board with the whole Twitch thing. I'm just now kind of diving into the maybe some YouTube live things and like the super chats and stuff like that. That I understand, but the Twitch thing, yeah, with the cheers and the pennies and the feelings and the high fives and the kisses on the cheek, it's all French to me.
All right. Yeah, I guess a bit is like a cheer bit, whatever is like a penny.
Okay.
So sure.
Right? It's like,
But hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Or so says the internet. That may prove to be untrue, so don't quote me on that.
Excellent, sir. Well, Ahren, thank you so much for joining me. Man, I feel like we have like 4 more podcasts worth of material that we could talk about. So I'd love to have you back on or something. Work something out.
Hey, let me know. I'm happy to come back anytime.
Cool, man. All right, and my name's John. As you know, you can find me on Twitter @OrzovDone. The They Said We Said Facebook group, and They Said We Said on Instagram. So for Ahren from Turn One Thoughtseize, I'm John, and I'll see you in the multiverse.